Over the weekend, an Iowa-based nonprofit kicked off its summer-long program to bring awareness to the deteriorating water quality of many of Iowa's lakes.
And the program is spearheaded by Driftless Water Defenders, and it's called the 48 Lakes Initiative. Now, the Okoboji chain of lakes actually made the list of the top 10 lakes most frequently under a swim not recommended advisory from the Iowa Department of Natural Resources. Between 2020 and 2024, DNR issued beach advisories during 26 out of 73 operational weeks. That did account for about 36% of the beach's open season. Organizers say this trend raises concerns about the long-term viability of safe public beach access at one of Iowa's most beloved state parks.
We're accumulating these stories on social media, and we're encouraging people to engage. Send us an email, send us a photograph, take a video, interview each other, and get stories that people can tell about what their experience is this summer when they go to a lake, or what has been their experience over time.
Organizers say the concerns brought to light are issues many people have discussed in private, but haven't had an opportunity or outlet to share their experiences publicly.
One of our goals is to have a constitutional amendment that indicates that the fundamental right to access to clean water is one that should be protected among all others. In the last couple of decades, we've lost sight of that.
If you would like to share your experience at one of Iowa's beaches or get involved with the movement, you can find the details within this story right now on KTIV.com.